Hi, it's Miles O'Brien once again in my laundry room in New York City. And there's Scott Parazynski, astronaut, mountaineer, adventurer, and Everest Base Camp dweller, soon to be a summiteer. Do they call them summiteers?
They do, and I hope to add that to my call sign, but not yet.
Too tall, the summiteer.
Maybe in a couple of weeks.
Too tall. All right. Hey, give us an update. Where do things stand as far as, I know you just got out of a team meeting. You're with IMG, and Eric Simonson is the boss. What are the words from on high for you and your team right now?
Well, very exciting day today. We have a bunch of Sherpas from a variety of teams, including IMG, fixing the route to the balcony, which is at about, I believe, 27,500 feet on the mountain. So they're preparing the upper reaches of the climb for all of our teams. And then tomorrow we hope to actually carry the route on up to the south summit, potentially even to the summit. And then that opens up the mountain for all the rest of the climbing teams here. So unfortunately, after the 5th, the jet stream starts to migrate back a little bit towards the summit of Mount Everest, maybe even directly above it. So we won't be targeting our summits until probably around the 11th. 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th would be our earliest summit dates. But we're really starting to prepare our gear, doing final checks on that, working with our oxygen systems, training on those systems just to get a refresher, and getting in the right mindset, because this is a very committing 5-day journey from here at base camp to the summit and then safely returning.
Wow, it's getting exciting. You can reach out and touch it. You mentioned the balcony. Was the balcony where you blew out your back last year?
No, actually, it was above Camp 3, so right near a place called the Yellow Band, which is a limestone inclusion. It's actually an area of real interest for Keith and I and some folks at NASA Ames. We're hoping to collect some rock samples there because we think that there might be some really interesting fossil remains in those high rock bands. But no, my back was injured around 24,500 feet.
All right. Well, you did a beautiful job. I didn't know you were going to do this. You did a beautiful job segueing from my silly question about your back into science. Let's talk a little bit about some of the gadgets that the good people at Ames, Lynn Rothschild, among others, provided for you. Let's look at the gadgets and bring Keith in. Keith Cowing, who is your gear Sherpa, not just your media Sherpa.
My sidekick?
Your sidekick in every way, shape, and form. Truly, it's a Mutt and Jeff picture, just for the record there. And anyway, okay, which one is it?
I'm Jeff.
Is Jeff the small one? Which one is Mutt? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm Jeff.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I beg to differ, but he's my brother from another mother.
There you go. Anyway, so let's talk about some of the gear you guys are going to have and what questions astrobiologists are interested in potentially answering there on Everest.
Well, one of the things that intrigues astrobiologists is what conditions were like on the early Earth 3-4 billion years ago. And back then, we didn't have an ozone hole, which meant that ultraviolet light just came down and slammed onto the surface of the Earth. This is the same time that life was evolving. So the question is, what role did ultraviolet light have in how life evolved, how did life evolve these mechanisms to protect against it? And usually the only way you can really figure that out is to go to places on Earth where there's still a lot of UV and possibly life. One place to do that is the poles, where the ozone hole sort of allows more to come in. And another place is to go very, very high. And if you look at irradiance maps for UV levels of the Earth, places like the Andes and the Himalayas are right up there. So what we're trying to do is characterize that light, first of all. We have a nifty little device. It's kind of like, it's my tricorder. I'm going to lend it to Scott. It's called a JAZZ unit. It's actually a spectrophotometer. And what you do is you aim this little sensor up at the sun, you take some readings, and then you put several filters in front of it such that you can block the UV and block scattered light so that you can rule out extraneous light that may not be what you're looking for. It's got a computer in it, a bunch
Hey,
of buttons
Keith,
and so forth. And just
we
like
can't
Spock,
see
you
it.
sort of
We
point
can't see the gadget. Raise the gadget up a little bit. We can't see it. There you go. Okay. Now tell me more about it.
That's it. Okay, it's a tricorder. Is what it is.
A
It's
what?
a tricorder. It's black. It's like Spock. You point it at something, you push some buttons, and it gives you an answer. And in this case, it gives you the full spectra, especially in the UV region of the light that's coming from the sun. And then, although I have it taped in here, there's an SD card. It comes out, you put it into a computer, you then send it back to NASA Ames, and they analyze the data. And we'll show you in the next webcast, we're also going to be doing something else, and that is taking some DNA plasmids in little vials, and Scott will put them out in a tray, leave them out for the sun to irradiate for a set period of time. We'll collect it back. And then taking these readings that we have, plus the damage that is done to the DNA, we'll be able to get a very good idea of not only the sort of ultraviolet light that's here, but how it affects DNA, which is, in all living organisms, and get a good idea of what might have been happening on the early Earth.
Cool. So when you say early Earth, this period of time when there wasn't ozone protection was what era? How long ago?
Oh God, it's way back. It's like more than 4 billion years ago, just after the Earth cooled. And actually, it's about 3.9 billion years ago. As soon as the Earth was cool enough, life evolved. And it may have evolved several times because at some point something hit the Earth and created the moon.
Yeah.
But this is way, way back when Earth was exceptionally young.
So just to be clear, this is the pre-sunblock era. So the animals of the time would have had a hard time, right?
And if you had sunblock then, it'd probably be SPF 5 million. In other words, lots and lots and lots.
And lots. All right, so that's pretty cool. That's one device. We'll roll out another one in our next podcast.